Favorite things about trying to retain fantastic talent. It's a mixture of treating people like adults and making sure that the offering you've got for your employees makes them want to, if you like, resubscribe every year, right? With every year that passes, people should want to continue subscribe to actually staying there in the business.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the all-new Season 3 of the Recruiting Revolution. Welcome back. Our guest today is Anna King from London. A little about Anna. So Anna brings over 8 years of extensive recruitment experience from companies like Google and Twilio. To now, she is now leading the people and talent part at SAPI. So a little about SAPI's mission is that it provides liquidity for global payment ecosystem by building, tailoring, and funding custom financing products. So welcome to the podcast, Anna. It's lovely having you here.
Thanks so much for that, Nidhi, and wonderful to be here today. The old chestnut of being on mute. Thank you for everything.
Anna, to start off, can you tell us, more about your journey?
Absolutely. I think you've made a lovely intro already. That kind of sums up my experience. I started actually very much in a recruitment environment roughly 11 years ago, and that was actually on the agency side of things. And then I slowly moved into in-house when I thought I was ready and I could add the right value. My first venture into in-house recruitment was actually while recruiting for Google. And then I essentially just built my career from that point onwards by growing a bit in seniority and in remit by joining Twilio, by joining businesses like Trainline and so on. So nowadays, as you said yourself, I'm actually in charge of the TA side of things or recruitment side of things, but also very much the people side of things. And I'm heading up the entire department here at SAPI. That's me in a nutshell. 11 years overall, and it's a mixture of HR and recruitment.
That is so amazing. You mentioned that you started your journey 11 years back. The landscape has undoubtedly evolved significantly when we talk about recruitment back 11 years to now. With the shift in working attitudes and expectations, companies the hiring process of companies has changed, and also the companies has to adapt the new hiring process. What do you think the adjustments should companies make to stay in trend?
Absolutely, you are right. Things have changed massively. I think back then what was considered absolutely revolutionary was actually using LinkedIn, believe it or not. But really, things do move that fast. And today, I think we are, in general, I think on the TA side, I think it's grown to be a much more sophisticated part of pretty much any business. And I think in terms of how we do our job, we go about doing our roles in a very methodical way. We touch upon so many areas of the business. And also just in terms of tools, Nidhi, things have changed so much, right? We all pretty much get up to speed and we use AI. So the landscape has massively changed. But also I think specifically speaking about the tech people side of things, the tech recruitment side of things, I'm sure I'm not giving you any great or novel news when I say that it's very much an employee's market. I mean, tech talent is of course not easy to hire at the best of times. And I think, it's really about making sure that as a business why fantastic talent should join.
That is true. And also, what process are you following at SAPI to hire the best talent? To meet the expectations of, right now?
That's a good question. I joined SAPI roughly a year ago. So a lot has happened in that year. I think in terms of actual process, we are, first of all, making sure that the people function and the rest of the leadership team are working collaboratively together. we know that we're working towards the same goal, and we're fully aligned in terms of the people that we aim to hire. In short, our CEO loves to say that we like to hire people who are both smart and nice. That might sound, somewhat straightforward or basic, but really, actually, if you hire smart and nice people, I think half of your problems as a business on that talent front are solved. So in terms of process, we very much collaborate. We stick very closely together. And I have to say that I'm using a lot of my experience at Google in terms of interviewing technique, in terms of process, and that does really help us at SAPI recruit the very best of talent. So it's methodology, collaboration, a short process that prioritizes candidates' experience before anything else. Really letting our brand shine and hopefully impress people enough so that they want to join us.
Yeah, that is so true. And you mentioned that how difficult it is in this time to hire like the best talent because of so many things, and also because it's an employee-centric market. So there is so much innovation and flexibility, and nowadays everyone has so much of information because of Glassdoor or LinkedIn. So everyone is up to date. So how do you think, what strategies do you believe are most effective in retaining good talent? Because that's a major challenge.
Well, in terms of retaining, of course, that's a whole remit of its own, isn't it? So, you've got amazing talent on board. In terms of retaining it, I think really it's just making sure, like you said, that the Glassdoor page reflects how things really are in the business. And it's also, I think, treating people like adults. That's one of my favorite things about trying to retain fantastic talent. It's a mixture of treating people like adults and making sure that the offering you've got for your employees makes them want to, if you like, resubscribe every year, right? With every year that passes, people should want to continue subscribe to actually staying there in the business. And I think we're doing that pretty well here at SAPI. I think a couple of things to mention. We have core hours, so people really kind of need to be on only 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. That seems to be, of course, very attractive to most people because it enables them to take care of other parts of their lives on a personal note. We reward people for how hard they work with that bit more holiday than the average in the UK and in Vietnam. I guess it's also a matter of trying to make sure that we give people the freedom to travel. So we do have a work from anywhere scheme for 6 weeks a year. So it's little things like that, but that's in terms of, benefits package and that side of things. But Nidhi, I would say it's a lot more than that. I think it's about making sure that the leadership team communicates very transparently to people. We keep everyone up to date with how the business is doing and how their contribution matters to the business. We also really try to make sure that people feel recognized and rewarded. So we do have 2 performance reviews every year where people get feedback, they get to grow, they get to really understand, how they can make the most of their time at SAPI. And the last note, which I think is very important, is making sure that people can actually grow and develop while working for SAPI. So, I provide a bit of career coaching one-on-one to anyone at SAPI that requires that. And also, we do offer LinkedIn Learning access to everyone, which I'm sure is more than 100,000 courses, so that they can all grow in any areas. And the last thing, I guess, is making sure that we support them in terms of their mental health. So we do have access to Calm as an app, just for everyone to be able to really take good care of their emotional well-being. I think in a nutshell, if I were to try to summarize it all very quickly, this would be my answer.
Yeah, that is so amazing. I think those points are great. Also, you touch base upon skill development as my the next question was, with benefits and compensation, certainly play an important role, but also skill development as well. So, how can companies leverage it to enhance their employees' growth? Of course, with learning with LinkedIn and many applications, but also how can they get themselves into a position where they can handle multiple roles rather than just focusing on one single role that they are now working.
Very good question. I think another good way of leveraging that, Nidhi, is to work with the managers in the organization. Anyone that is a manager for a team, anyone that has direct reports at SAPI, I think it's important to say that they receive the right amount of support from the people team. They are constantly supported to be great coaches, to encourage their teams to learn more and to grow in terms of skill set. And I think it's also a matter of being very agile, proactive, and just really moving with the times. So, it's how can we incorporate, perhaps using AI to make our lives a little bit easier? How can we get skilled in that? How can we act quickly so that we're not actually left behind? All of this is coming, I think, from our wonderful managers in the business. And of course, as I said, they're supported by the people team. That's our contribution. But I really would say that it's about hiring the right managers and then giving them the right support to help the team that they manage grow and become better at a variety of things, growing that skill set. So I think that's really the way to think about it. But I also think in terms of actually nourishing that talent, an important way to motivate people to really want to upskill is to tie that in with the reward and the recognition offering. So, I think it's important to say, hey, I think you need to learn about this and this and this, for instance. But if you get there, this will be very much recognized in your next performance review. And of course, that comes with a reward attached to it. That's the sort of mechanism that we deploy at SAPI.
Yeah, got it. Also, when we talk about hiring great talent, we have to talk about Generation Z. So, I feel that every generation has its own way of working. So, also, have you cracked the code on the approach that resonates with Generation Z audience?
Oh, have I cracked the code? I think I'm mindful of not being too confident that I've got all the answers, right? I don't know if we've cracked the code, but Nidhi, I can assure you we've tried our very best to do so and to make sure that we meet the needs of this latest generation to enter the workforce. I think I'm a big fan of young people that come in with, that right kind of impetus, with that right kind of motivation, energy. So I'm also a big fan really of seeing Gen Z demanding a lot out of the workplace and really wanting to grow with it and be treated the right way. I really respect that point of view. I like it. So I think to give you an idea about what we've tried to do, I think I was reading some months ago about a study that was saying that roughly 80% of Gen Z have as one of their most important requirements to be able to work from anywhere. So a work from anywhere scheme. And as I was saying earlier, that's very much integrated in what we offer at SAPI. So I think that's meeting the needs of Gen Z as a whole, the fact that they can for 6 weeks go anywhere they like, travel and work from there. I think the other thing that we've done really well to meet the needs of Gen Z from all the kind of reports I've been reading and, focus groups I've been working with is this proposition of having core hours, right? So Gen Z is according to my knowledge, Gen Z is very keen to have the ability to look after their mental health, to feel productive and healthy, right? On many levels. And so I think those core hours that enable people, so as I said, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. really is when you have to be on. at SAPI. But I do think that, what we do with this proposition is enable people who are perhaps morning people to do more work in the first part of the day, right? Feel free to start your day at 7 a.m. if that's when you're thriving. Or people, for instance, like myself, that maybe thrive a bit more in the second part of the day, right? So the freedom is there for you to make the most of that time of day when you're at your best. And I think, Gen Z, again, from what I understand, responds well to that. And I think other things that we're doing is just being very proactive. I did mention we have 2 performance reviews a year, and they both come with very clearly stated rewards, depending on how well you performed as an employee. It's really making sure that Gen Z, when they come to SAPI, they know that it's all to play for. You'll do great work. In 6 months' time, we'll have a chat about that and we'll make sure that you're rewarded. And then we'll do that again in 6 months' time and so on. So it's the idea of making sure that they stay healthy, productive, and they can grow while still having the freedom to perhaps travel a little bit around the world.
Yeah, I think flexibility is the answer to it. Also, continuing our conversation of skill development. So, what do you think, like, the skills do TA professionals need to develop in this competitive market?
TA professionals, I would say I think I'll bring it back to the basics in the first part of my answer. I think it's very important to not lose sight of that very human element in talent acquisition. We deal with people, and the better we treat them and the more we communicate with them in a respectful manner, the better we do overall. That touches the impact you have on employer brand. That touches, I suppose, the impact you have in securing the very best of talent. So what I mean by this is really making sure that there are very clearly stated SLAs, there are very clearly stated touch points throughout the recruitment process. And it's just really not wasting people's time. So it's a combination of treating them with respect as candidates and not wasting their time, right? Everyone should hear back if they've interviewed, whether they've done well or not very well. They should hear back from us. They should be, given an answer and some closure if they haven't done well. And if they've done well, of course, they should hear back from us and be moved as quickly as possible to the next stage of interviewing. And then, the other thing is, for instance, let's say sometimes we don't manage to perfectly stick to that plan we've created when we started recruiting for a role. I think as a TA professional, it's just so important to reach out and say, hey, I know I promised I'll get back to you in 2 days. It's looking like it's going to take me 4 days. Apologies about that. I'll be in touch, but just so you know, we've not forgotten about you. So it's little things like that. And I guess the other thing about TA professionals is to really make sure that the benefits offering and the way employees are treated overall is very visible out to the market, so that you can actually attract the right talent. That's what I would focus on, and that's what I meant by bringing it back to the basics. But the other thing, Nidhi, that's important as a TA professional nowadays is to really stay up to date with the latest trends, to read enough about what's happening in the market, to be very conscious about maybe, what company might be perhaps saying goodbye to a couple of employees, just really keeping your finger on the pulse. And the last thing, again, I think everyone mentions this these days, but just using AI as much as possible for sourcing, for messaging, for JDs, for everything, just really leveraging this great gift of AI, which we've benefited from in the last perhaps 18 months to 2 years.
True. That is so true. Also, there are so many students who want to pursue their career into TA and talent acquisition and being recruiters. And, they are coming at a time where AI is booming, really. So, what are some tips for them as well? Because they might be using it at, on another level they are using. So, how to balance out, the human side and the AI side of the part?
Very good question. I think it's trying to get the best of both worlds. So that human element, like I was saying earlier, is extremely important. But also the AI element is just, as I said, I see it as a gift. So I guess in terms of balancing them, I think over communicating is the part that's very human, right? You can just over communicate, you can reach out very often and treat people well. And the AI part, I could give you a few examples of how we're using it, for instance, at SAPI. So it's a great tool if you want to write excellent job descriptions very quickly. It's fantastic. It's also a great tool if you want to have a very quick shortlist of fantastic candidates and you're using the right ATS that deploys AI, of course, to kind of create a quick shortlist, if you like, for yourself. And also, taking it further and using actually AI for sourcing. There are so many tools that can actually help you source quicker and more efficiently and perhaps with more precision. Yeah. So these are the elements that I think, are very important to integrate in TA in terms of AI. And even going as far as preparing, basic candidate packages about the business, right? Let's say you finish speaking to a candidate and you'd like to send them a bit more information about the business. There are so many great tools these days that help you in approximately 15 minutes put together a really attractive package visually about your business. And again, that's the beauty of AI. So I think it's leveraging the right tools for AI and keeping that human touch in connecting with people, over communicating, and making sure you treat them with respect and empathy.
Yeah, that is so true. Also, you mentioned about sourcing and using great tools. Would like to mention that, like Liquidity does have like AI-backed tools, like where, we have a tool where we can generate job description like in around 20 plus languages. So I think it's so easy, like when we are backed by AI, we can get it like in 5 minutes. So it's really helpful nowadays. But back then we used to like even I used to go through like several websites and search the best points and then create the job description, which is so lengthy process. But yeah, it's really great.
Absolutely. It is wonderful. That's why I was saying, I just think it's definitely a gift. And we're very lucky to be at I suppose at the very initial stages of how AI develops and how we can integrate it into our roles day to day.
True. Also, we are coming to like at the end or like end of our podcast. So as my very last question, like according to you, like what TA team of the future looks like?
That is a very interesting question. The TA team of the future, I think I do again stress that regardless of what point in the future we're referring to, the human aspect of it is very important. So respect and empathy for candidates need to be at the core of everything that a TA team does in order to attract the right talent. I also think that staying on top of new platforms where you could improve your employer brand or kind of showcase it is also very important. And I think a TA team of the future needs to be very, very mindful of that. And of course, a combination of everything I've mentioned and really staying on top of new tools, AI or non-AI, just new tools in general to improve efficiency, to improve speed, and to just make sure that as a TA team, you stay as productive as possible.
Yeah. So that ends our podcast, and it was such a great time having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being the guest.
Thank you very much, Nidhi, for the invite. Honored to be here, and I've really, really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you so much.